Hello, everybody. It's Gary Stuckey with Real Music. On today's show, I've got country singer Blake Burrow. He's got a brand new single coming out tomorrow called Don't Blame It on the Bar. Very talented singer songwriter. I think you're going to enjoy this interview. So here we go. Here he is. Here's Blake Burrow. So anyway, let's. I won't keep you too long. I know you got all kinds of stuff you got to do, but
I'm excited. I've been I'm prepped and ready. I've been through about 7 or 8 of these the last week, and so
I know it makes you feel good. So tell me about the new song, "Don't Blame It on the Bar." That's coming out tomorrow, right?
it is. It comes out. I guess it hits platforms at midnight tonight.
Oh, okay, so
Um,
tell me about that song.
man, it was a song that I co-wrote with a buddy of mine that's from Texas, but we were in Nashville. He lives in Nashville, and then he does a lot of touring out here in Texas and plays all over the place. Has written tons of songs. He's actually has his own new record coming out, but we wrote it with his nephew, who does a bunch of stuff in Nashville now. He does a lot of the podcast stuff and does video work for different podcasts and does some music. And then another buddy of ours named Brad Irby um, was on it, and he's a songwriter out there. And the story behind it is my buddy Joey Green is his name, who's one of the writers on it. There's a bar in Nashville called Red Door, and it's kind of a very staple for the industry people in Nashville. It's kind of where everybody goes and has a drink afterward, or on Mondays or Wednesdays, and it's kind of the hangout. And he'd kind of gotten in a little scuffle and got banned for a month.
Oh,
Uh, and it's funny because we're still, he's good buddies with all the bartenders, and he knows the owner, and so they're just like, you can't come in here for a month. And so it was kind of funny. We were sitting at the bar, and after a riot one day, and I was like, man, we were talking about it. I was like, man, don't blame it on the bar. And he's like, write it down. And so we kind of had that. We kind of had the idea, and we've always, there's been a million songs about blaming it on whiskey and stuff like that, but we tried to look at it as like, everybody has their cheers, their spot that they like to go, and you want somebody, like if you're married, or you want somebody to understand where you're going, and they can't, you don't want somebody who's not jealous. And so we kind of based it around that. Like, she was, basically she was wanting him to be something more than he wasn't going to give up his little small town honky tonk bar that he goes to every once in a while. Doesn't mean that he's getting drunk. In the song, we don't even. He's like, it's
right.
just a place that I go to think, man. He's like, I can get away and kind of just think to myself. And so that was kind of the idea behind the song, and kind of it just kind of came together real fast. It was one of those. I bet it didn't take us 2 hours to write. So
Oh, wow. Yeah, it sounds great. I mean, it sounds like it would be, something that everybody could relate to, and something that they would like to turn up, on the radio. I mean, I like songs like that make you think about stuff. Um, but yeah, most people could probably think of a time, and they could relate to that at a bar or a relationship or something like that. But talking about blame, I think blame, people do like to blame a lot of stuff, you know, and I guess a bar or two, when sometimes you need to look in the mirror, right, and see who that person is, right. But well, tell me, see, now this song, like I said, is really really catchy song, and I know that there's a lot of buzz going on. Have you heard a lot of people that maybe have heard it uh, before it's been released, that kind of says what their feelings have been about the song?
yeah, it's been man, I've had, I mean, people that I played a concert a couple weeks ago. We played a full band show out here, and it was meant to be kind of a release, kind of a we had a lot of new merch and different things, that we were trying out. Um, just kind of gearing up for 2024, which is sounds weird to say.
Yeah.
Um, but gearing up, to try to hit the road in 2024. We just kind of want to kind of have the momentum going with the single, and we're probably going to release another song or two into next year. And so it was uh it was cool because there was about, I mean, the venue was packed. There was probably 350, 400 people in there.
Oh,
And there was about 60 people that came to the front when we started playing that song. People that, and luckily the bar that I was playing at, I gave them a wave file, and he's been playing it on Friday, Saturday nights. And so
cool.
we had about 60 people that came up to the front and were jamming and singing it with us. So that was kind of cool and fun.
Right. I bet it was, man. Uh, and I know that's a joy for you to see, fans out there singing your song, and um, so tell me about that. Tell me about your fans and what that means to you.
Man, there's, for me as a songwriter, and whether it's a catchy song or a very deep song, um, I'll never forget a guy. I was playing a benefit, and it was a veterans type benefit, and I have a song on the new record called "Over It Yet," and it's a very deep song, and the guy came up to me afterward, after we played. I got off stage, and he was kind of teary eyed, and he said, "Man, that song hit me," and that, when you can touch somebody else through song, it just, it makes you feel a different way, like, you know that you're able to help them in a way that somebody else can't through your song.
Right.
And even if it's just them listening to it live or listening to it on the radio or on their streaming station or whatever, it just, to me, it makes me strive to write, great songs, to write songs that people can relate to, that I've stuff that I've gone through, or stuff that, somebody else has gone through, that I'm close to, that I may, you can catch those secondary, if somebody's struggling with depression, or, you have a parent that's, has cancer, or different things like that. Like, you can always dig deep to see what it would feel like. And my mom went through a little cancer deal, last year. And so, um, just being able to relate your feelings onto paper, and then other people taking those songs and incorporating them into their life, is, something that every singer songwriter strives to do, because that's, I mean, we do it for ourselves. Obviously, that's why we love writing it. But, I love seeing it hit people in a way where it just hits them, and they can take it with them for the rest of their life.
Sure. Um, so who were some of your influences growing up that you always like to copy and just love to listen to?
Well, um, so my very first concert was Beach Boys. I was
Ah,
7 years old, and it kind of got me in the music, the love of music. I played piano at 5, and played until I was in high school, classical, style. And but the Beach Boys concert, my mom took me. She was a big Beach Boys fan, and Elvis, and so I listened to a lot of that '60s and uh, '70s type of music because of my
right.
parents. Um, but some of my influences, my first concert was Charlie Robinson in high school, and he had a big influence. My brother used to send me songs. He would burn me CDs and be like, "Listen to this, listen to these guys," and it would be like Black Hawk and Chris Ledoux and Jason Boland, and it'd be like, there'd be like a George Strait song, "Restless Heart" would be on there. Just all the '90s, you know, Diamond Rio, and just the
Right.
big. But those are some of my big ones. But as I started getting into country music, like Vince Gill was a big influence. I loved everything everything he writes, everything he plays on. I mean, it's just to me, I think is perfection. What country music is. And then Keith, I was a big fan of like Keith Whitley
Oh yeah.
and like some of the older guys, just the way that they did stuff. Um, it was just one of those, the way that they connected with their audience with those songs was just something that I was drawn to. And same with like some of the Texas country guys like Robert Earl Keen and and oh, just trying to. Jason Boland was another big one. Corey Morrow, guys that kind of started out. Pat Green, or that's what I listened to a lot in college. And we listened to, I listened to '90s country in college still, but that was kind of right at the big push that Texas country, those Pat Greens and stuff like that. And so they had a big influence. I would go watch concerts all the time, and I started playing guitar out there. But those are some of my big influences were some of the Texas country guys. But the Nashville guys is very much like the Dean Dillons and the George Straits and the Vince Gill and Keith Whitley and Waylon Jennings, Merle Haggard, some of those guys. I even love I have very much like Travis Tritt and Tracy Lawrence. Like I love their sound just because it's
Oh
so
yeah.
different. And so those are some of my influences.
You were talking about Dean Dillon, one of the greatest songwriters ever with the George Strait song. I was thinking about those songs when you write them, though. It's one thing to write a song, and then when the people are listening, and I know you do it too, you listen to a George Strait song that Dean Dillon wrote, uh, and you're visualizing it. Do you do that though when you're writing, and really when you're singing? Do you to get in that mood and that mode? It has an effect on your singing. I know when you're visualizing the song and you're going and you're feeling kind of the hurt and the pain, especially when you've gone through it. Do you do that? Do you visualize the song? And when
I
people kind of connect to that, right? When you're like sitting there thinking about it.
Well, and I think it conveys your story more if you're, for me, like there's a song called Faded that that on the new record, and it's going to be the title of the new record. But I love the way that we wrote that song, and so it's very detailed, but it just paints a picture. And whenever I play it, like it gets me like you're right. Like the more that you dig into your own song and visualize the story that you're trying to tell, I feel like you come off as a better performer and people are drawn to you whenever you sing it. And so I mean, I agree. And Dean Dillon is I mean, I've gotten to see him several different times. And, there's a ton of other great songwriters in Nashville that I love. But the last time I saw him, just the stories that he told, you know, and then the stories behind the songs are, but he has such a unique way of painting such a great picture in a country song. And
Yeah.
that's, I feel like that's what I'm very much a story type of guy. Like I want there to be kind of a story in the song. There's got to be a way that it can relate to everybody. And so
Right.
that's kind of the way that I write in my own personal way. That's kind of how I write as well. But I'm trying to hone in on my own craft to try to get to that level someday.
That's right. Maybe you'll make it one day. I'm just no, just kidding. No. If somebody said you get to have a duet with anybody, past or present, living or dead, and you got to pick it right now, who would it be?
It'd be Vince Gill.
It's
Him. That's tough because I mean, it would probably definitely be him because he can sing harmonies with anybody. And then if it wasn't him, it'd probably be Stapleton because I feel like they're both very similar and just their uniqueness in the way they write, play guitar. their vocals are just the best in country music to me. That's my own personal
I agree.
opinion, but my number one is definitely Vince Gill. He's
Oh,
my go-to. If I could do a duet or write a song with somebody, he's probably definitely the guy that I'd be picking.
so hopefully he'll be watching. He'll see this and he'll call you and say, "Just saying." And you can remember me. I was the guy that
I'm be
set it
like,
up.
I'm like, we need to get Gary out to this show whenever we record this because he's the one that
I'm
made it
just,
happen.
I'm just saying, dude. Got to remember the little people. Uh, Now you have goals in your life. I know it's probably when you have goals, it's why you got to where you are now. But what are your goals for the future? What do you write goals kind of in your mind, or I don't know, paper, or just make mental notes and go, I want to do this by the end of this year or the end of this whatever. Do you do that? And what are they?
I do. So there's a bunch of, for me, since I'm, obviously the new records is coming to fruition, and that was one thing that I wanted to do after my first record, and the first record is kind of a totally different side of me. It was almost 7 years ago, and I feel like I've grown tremendously as a songwriter, as an artist, and the type of music that I want to put out. But some of my big goals, there's a lot of festivals that I would love to play. There's a lot of acts that I'd like to be on a bill with. Um, One of my definite goals hopefully within the next 2 to 3 years is I'd love to play at the Grand Ole Opry. That's always been a goal of mine. Uh, I used to work at the Wild Horse Saloon in Nashville back when I was younger, and I got to tour the Grand Ole Opry, and just the circle and the history behind it, and the history behind country music, and the people that have stepped on that stage, and even at the Ryman, either one of those I'd be fine with. And then there's definitely places out here like Billy Bob's and Green Hall, and different stages that are just eclectic when it comes to you associate country music with that venue. And that's, I want people when they hear the name Blake Burrow, I'm like, that's a country music singer. That's kind of my goal is when they hear he's genuine, he loves to tell his story, and he loves to do it in a unique way. And I feel like my voice is unique and different compared to what's out there. So I'm that's my goal, is just to be different.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to fall in line with everybody else. I don't want to be like everybody else, and I want it to show in the way that I put out the music and the way that we do it in the studio, and then when we do it live. So,
Right. Um, what's been the hardest thing about trying to make it as a country artist? What's been kind of difficult or some issues for you along the way that you've been able to overcome?
well, I think sometimes you get disheartened by different things, and not necessarily people, but I think sometimes you get disheartened just with the way that, I'm not trying to compete against anybody. I know it's a dog eat dog world in the Nashville, but I feel like it's getting better, and we are competing in a sense, but we're not. Like, we're just all trying to write and sing country music at the same time. And so um that, and then COVID happened, and I didn't know what was going to happen. I feel like, luckily I caught a break during COVID, and met a buddy of mine who's a business owner and owns several different businesses, and believed in my music enough and became my business partner for my music. And so that was kind of a blessing during COVID, and that's kind of um, why we're able to do what we're doing today. But that's a lot of the other thing is, like, you get disheartened because gigs and just different, if you're playing a gig and sometimes you might just be background noise, and that can be, that can be disheartening as a songwriter. If I was just playing covers all night, like I wouldn't care. But if I'm,
Yeah.
if I'm playing my own song, I want people to, I want them to hear it, and I want them to hear the lyrics and really dig into what I'm singing. And so that's probably the most, just that's been the hardest thing, is just like knowing your sound, but just trying to convey it to get people to listen. And I know some of that social media, that's that's always been a that's always been me and social media don't get along, but we've hopefully figured that out. So
Yeah, that's the rough thing about having your own YouTube channel, or when people that sit behind a phone or a computer can say whatever they want to and try to bring you down. But I always think about it like this: if there's somebody out there trying to bring you down, they must see something in you that's about to break loose, and they're scared that you might actually be good, and they don't want that to happen. That's just how it is sometimes. Um, but yeah, you sometimes you just have to overlook that, right? When you see, some haters or people like that trying to say some junk, I don't know, it happens all the time. But
I mean, you're always going to have your keyboard warriors out there, and I always tell people this all the time. I'm like, not, my country, my style of music is not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and so you just have to, you just have to be true to yourself. Like at the end of the day, like I'm not doing it to impress the masses. Like if the masses start to like it, then that's great. But I'm going to do it, and if the people that love it, they're going to come, and they're going to watch the show, they're going to buy merch, and they're going to support. But I can't worry about the rest, because you'll just dig yourself a hole that you can't get out of, because you're always constantly thinking about that instead of what you should be focusing on, which is the music.
that's true. That's a good point. Um, what's something about you that you maybe it's like a habit of something of yours that you are trying to break the habit of, that you can think of?
So I have a bad habit. I'll say, here's a little song for you. Like, if so I'm trying not to say that. I'm just trying to just sing the song and then tell a story a different way, and not say, you know, here's a little or a little bit. I think that's just something that's been in the back of my mind. It's been very, very been brought to my attention by a couple buddies that I do song swaps with and stuff like that. And so I was like, I'll work on it. Okay.
Right. It's hard. I do that. I'll go back and listen to an interview, and I'll say a certain phrase like 1,000 times. I'm like, gee, man, stop that. But it's just hard to get out of that little routine. But
It
yeah,
is.
I totally understand. I totally understand. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what can you do to, practice on, you know, have like a notepad that says, don't say this, don't do that. You know, I don't know. Um, but that's got to be fun though. I mean, I guess when you're singing in front of people, and you're seeing the crowds out there, and like you said, you're thinking about this, you're worried about that, but when you're focused on music, but especially though when it's your song, a new song that you've got out now. I mean, uh, it's new to people, so you're going to be doing some shows coming up. It's going to be great though to sing it and see their reaction and see how they respond to it, right? Don't you get excited when a new song comes out
I,
and you're
I
like,
do. I do. I'm like super excited now because we haven't put out anything in so long, and it's almost like a restart. I kind of I found a sound that I love, and the way that I write, and so like I'm excited to see when we start releasing this new music, the people that are listening to it and downloading, and then going coming to a show, and they know every word too.
that's awesome.
And so that's something that I'm very much looking forward to. Just when you can sing a chorus and the audience sings it for you, that
That's all.
that that is what, that's what us as performers and artists, that's something that we strive for. And, we want people to know our songs and sing them with us, because that means that you hit a lot of people in a certain way with a song that they'll never forget it.
Sure. Um, and you're talking about a new album, so you got some songs that you're releasing. Is there going to be a whole album released soon, or when is that going to happen?
So the new album is probably going to drop in March. So we'll get back. We have about 3 or 4 more songs that we need to record. We have 8 right now that are done and recorded and mixed and mastered, and we probably could have put it out there, but I have a team together with different guys like Jeremy and Scott, and then I have my cousin's also helping as well, and she does a bunch of that management, PR, social media stuff. And so we're trying to build on socials. Unfortunately, we live in a very much a digital world where even outside of venues and stuff, like, they want to know how many followers you have or how many listeners you have. And so we're going to really focus in the next 3 to 4 months and trying to build 4 to 5 months before March and really build that. And we're going to release some more songs before March, but to really just get people excited about the rest of the record. And that's all we can do. If there's 12 songs, we might release 4 or 5, and then you get the rest of the record. But we want people to be able to have the whole record, because eventually, as soon as we're done with this one, we're going to be playing and hopefully being on the road, and then I'll be still writing, but you still want to be writing songs to where you can get back in the studio, even if it's just a single later on that year that you release, or 2 or 3 singles that you release that next fall. So it's definitely one of those that just constant stuff. But I'm excited about this record. So it should be between 10 to 12 songs, and we're pumped. I'm pumped. It's been a long time coming, and so I'm just super excited that I'm able to share my music with people. So,
and tell me, how about people reaching you on social media? So all the platforms, you're on all the platforms out there. Tell me about that.
We're going to be on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. We'll be on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Teeter, Amazon, and we're still working on Pandora right now. It's probably going to happen there. That's because my first record wasn't on it. My distribution company's working hard to get us on that. So should be shortly, that we can get that. So.
And did you say Spotify? I think I don't know, but I was checking out your music on Spotify, and some great songs, great catalog of songs. But you're on what, Facebook and what?
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I'm on all those. They're either at Blake Burrow or Blake Burrow Music on all of them. I know Instagram is Blake Burrow, and then we have a link tree to all of them as well on all our bios. And so you should be able to, once you're in at one with the bio, you can hit on the link tree, and it should take you to everything else. So
awesome. Well, I appreciate you talking to me today. I'm looking forward to hearing more about you and seeing your success level go up, man.
But Gary, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I appreciate you talking about your music. Yeah, like I said, it's going to be great, man. I appreciate you. And hey, go golf and get a hole in one or something, and get a few laughs.
If I get a hole in one, I'm calling you. Okay.
Please do. I'll be waiting.
Okay. Well, have a great day, Gary. Thank you for the interview, man. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Blake.
Yes, sir.
All right,
bye.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Go check out Blake Burrow and his new single, Don't Blame It on the Bar. And always remember to keep the music real.